This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel, and my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
CNA Special Olympics Partnership is aligned to our AVID, or Advocacy for Visible and Invisible Disabilities, disability-focused employee resource group in elevating our inclusion efforts. CNA is committed to fostering a diverse and inclusive culture that empowers our organizations, partners, and communities. Through enterprise-wide collaboration and programming, we celebrate diversity and promote inclusivity inside and outside of the workplace. CNA will partner with the Special Olympics Global Athlete Leadership Program to advance engagement through presentations, mentorship, support, and group volunteering in key CNA markets. Special Olympics create opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities to fully participate in society, whether on the playing field, in school, or in the workforce, to end discrimination of people with ID. Let's talk about ID, or intellectual disabilities. ID means limitations in cognitive functioning and skills, including communication, social, and self-care skills. These limitations can cause a child to develop or learn more slowly or differently than a typical developing child. ID can happen at any time before a child turns 18 or even before birth. In some cases, it can occur in adults over 18 due to a traumatic brain injury or other cognitive damage. ID is the most common developmental disability, with one of the most marginalized and isolated populations. The 6 most common medical diagnoses found in Special Olympics athletes are Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome, fetal alcohol syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy, and epilepsy. Special Olympics empowers people with ID to lead independent lives and serve as leaders in our movement and in their communities. An estimated 6.5 million people in the U.S. and 200 million globally have an intellectual disability. They face ongoing injustice, including social exclusion, active discrimination, and worse, are often denied basic human rights. With that, I am honored to welcome our special guest to this interview today. His name is Daniel Smarkowski and is a Sargent Shriver International Global Messenger and Special Olympics athlete in his home state of Illinois. Competes in both swimming and basketball. Communication has been Daniel's biggest struggle, but it's also his biggest passion, which led him to start his own media company, Special Chronicles. Special Olympics gave Daniel the voice to make an impact on the world beyond sport. With the confidence he gained from Special Olympics, he found additional abilities as a writer and podcaster, and further honed his skills by attending and graduating from Roosevelt University in Chicago. Daniel's nonprofit media company is focused on giving a voice to people with disabilities and has won awards such as Best Original Column in the 2016 Illinois Press Association. Here to share more about his journey with Special Olympics as a leader of the inclusion revolution is Daniel Smarkowski. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Sonia, and thank you, CNA, for partnering with Special Olympics. CNA's focus on creating allies and building networks is similar to Special Olympics work, which relies on its allies and network of supporters to create a more inclusive world. We are excited to work with you to support the community in this way. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your partnership. As an Illinois native, I am so proud to say that I graduated from Roosevelt University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism. I fondly remember passing by the CNA building every day and reflecting on my journey now, it is an honor to have come full circle, to be speaking with all of you today about unified leadership with Special Olympics. I'm proud to be one of 10 Sargent Shriver International Global Messengers, representing our North America region, as well as a Special Olympics Illinois athlete leader. Every day, I am a digital media creator. That's what I do. I am an award-winning podcaster, columnist, advocate, and founder of Special Chronicles, telling disability stories with the mission to give respect and voice to people with special needs on the groundbreaking platform, specialchronicles.com. I serve as an Energy Force ambassador with ComEd, and I also work 4 times a week at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport.
That's incredible. Thank you for giving us your introduction. Daniel, can you tell us a little bit more about what inclusion means to you?
Great question. And this is the same question that I ask on all of the podcast conversations I host of my guests. To quote Stephen Hawking, disability need not be an obstacle to success. Like everyone else on the planet, with and without disabilities, I've had my challenges and sometimes my defeats. One of the biggest challenges is that people don't always understand my speech. I often have to repeat things over and over and over and over and over. Sometimes, if there's a difficult word to say, I have to quickly think of an easier word to say. With these language difficulties, people think I'm stupid. Math concepts, as in handling money, for example, have always tripped me up. So I have to make sure people don't cheat me with money. Sometimes my challenges mean I don't succeed. For example, as an employee at a big secondhand store, I asked for the responsibility to be a cashier multiple times. And I know I could have learned the job, but to my humiliation, the management overlooked me time and time again. The Special Olympics Athlete Leadership Program empowers athletes like me to develop skills and utilize our voices and abilities to undertake meaningful leadership roles, influence change in the Special Olympics movement, and create inclusive communities. Athlete leadership gave me skills and confidence to develop and show how communication is my biggest struggle, but it's also my biggest passion. I've been able to take these leadership skills of communication and listening beyond sport. In communicating with people from different backgrounds and cultures. In addition to being a global messenger, I've also been a member of the board of directors, leading the orientation of the board and working on a committee for the 50th anniversary during my role as an athlete leader. I co-chair the Athlete Leadership Council, which includes weekly meetings with executive leadership and the statewide council. I also co-facilitate new athlete leadership trainings and mentor other athlete leaders. I also provide equal opportunities to other Special Olympics athletes on podcasts and blog space on specialchronicles.com to help spread inclusion through their stories. Athlete leadership with Special Olympics and other life experiences have helped me understand you win some, you lose some. Always hold your head high and keep asking for more responsibility. I've also learned that for success, I have to work hard, be very dependable, tolerate a long commute on the bus, ask for help when needed, and not be afraid to toot my own horn. Being involved in these programs, appointments, leadership roles, and as a valued employee, represent what inclusion means to me.
Daniel, that is incredible. You're obviously really well accomplished. It's my understanding that you are also involved in a number of exciting roles and projects with another Chicago-based employer. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience there and how it relates to your leadership journey?
I'll be happy to. I learned of a groundbreaking job with Special Olympics global partner, United Airlines. When I received the call, I was feeling underappreciated at my job, but my unified employment journey was about to change. I would come to learn that it created not only a job, but a new career opportunity in the airline industry that those of us with intellectual disabilities rarely receive. I was hesitant at first because I wasn't sure what United was looking for in a service ambassador. But it turned out that everything about who I was exactly who United was looking to hire. Communication is my biggest challenge, but it's also my biggest passion. I am now an employee with United Airlines and speak to strangers with comfort. Communication is my biggest struggle, but it's also my biggest passion. I am now an employee at United Airlines and speak to strangers with comfort. My initial hesitations have turned into a career opportunity that has helped my self-confidence grow beyond my wildest dreams. My fellow Special Olympics athletes and I shadowed customer service representatives as they did their job, from checking in travelers as they arrived in the lobby to boarding passengers at the gates. To celebrate our new roles, we were invited to a Special Olympics plane pull in Houston, which is an annual fundraising event between the law enforcement tow run and United Airlines. where I gave a 2-minute speech to over 600 United Airlines employees from all across the globe. In my time with them, I've enjoyed being part of a community that cares. With a unified employer that connects with people and unites the world. This leadership journey that connects with people across the world is an amazing feeling. I'm grateful to be part of the United family and to show the world that with a positive and motivational work attitude, I can be a good employee. I would like to personally give a big thank you to United Airlines for seeing the ability in me and not putting the label of disability on me. I've successfully grown into more responsibility, taking on roles with the DEI and communications team at United. Whether I'm co-producing a Unified at Work podcast series or in a leadership board role on the United Bridge Business Resource Group. These parts of my leadership journey are perfect examples of what can happen when a company truly engages in unified leadership and how it lends to real inclusion. I'm also a service ambassador at United Airlines, based at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. And you might just see me if you pass by gate C21.
I will have to do that. Daniel, thank you so much for sharing your story and walking us through your inclusion journey. What you do is truly inspiring, and I hope more people can take your learning and apply it to their lives. So for everyone else, to continue learning more about how Special Olympics impacts individuals and communities, you will have the opportunity to join an interactive unified leadership session for all CNA employees this fall. This will help companies and their employees consider what they can do in their own organization to be more inclusive of people with intellectual disabilities. Special Olympics will lead an interactive work session in order to improve knowledge, reduce fear, and inspire participants to be more inclusive. You'll hear directly from a panel of Special Olympics athlete leaders who will share their life and work experiences, demonstrate their leadership skills, and illustrate the urgency for change through this interactive work session. Secondly, and also importantly, you can take the Special Olympics Personal Inclusion Pledge, which helps Special Olympics empower individuals to ensure no one is forgotten during this critical time around the world. This is a pledge to look for the lonely, the isolated, the left out, the challenged, and the bullied, to overcome the fear of difference and replace it with the power of inclusion. #choose to include. Any final thoughts, Daniel, that you'd like to share?
Remember, choose to include.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
Equality.
Dignity.
And the recognition of our
shared humanity. We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever. And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
We're going to take a quick break from our conversation today to learn how you can become a Special Chronicles supporter so we can continue to produce this podcast. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, We can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. And hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break from our conversation today to hear a message from our partner. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they are literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. And now we return to our conversation. This episode continues right now. And this has been episode 455 of the Special Chronicles show. My name is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and a Sargent Shriver International Global Messenger of Special Olympics. So excited. I hope that you have enjoyed this week's episode. It was a little bit different where the microphone was toned, but I hope you enjoyed that unified leadership or inclusive leadership conversation where a CNA employee had interviewed me about inclusion and unified leadership or inclusive leadership and my journey in Special Olympics and athlete leadership. So hopefully you have enjoyed that episode. Specialchronicles.com is where you can go for links to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Please join the conversation on our Instagram page or Twitter or Facebook page. Subscribe to our newsletter. If you enjoyed this podcast, you enjoy the other podcasts and series that we have on the Special Chronicles Network. And coming up in the next month, we have some exciting all new episodes of the Special Chronicles show. Next week, we will be rebroadcasting the Voices of Champions Talks. It's the fourth Voices of Champions Talks that feature Special Olympics athletes from the North America region, which includes Canada, the Caribbean, and the United States. So that's just some powerful, brief TED-style talks that was recorded a few weeks ago, but we will be bringing that to you. We will be rebroadcasting to you right on this network. So stay subscribed to this podcast so you don't miss next week's exciting fourth edition of the Voices of Champions Talks. Will be coming up next week. And then in December, we have our friend Natalie Bonke, anchor at Fox 32 Chicago News, will be coming on the podcast to talk about her ambassador with Special Olympics Illinois and her Chicago Ducky Derby and polo plunge involvement and inclusion with people with special needs on TV. So Natalie, that you do not want to miss that'll be coming up on the December 6th, the first week of December. And then also coming up in December, we have our friend Jerry Holy. We will be officially welcoming his podcast, the Good Vibes Show, to the Special Chronicles Network. So we've got an exciting conversation with Jerry. And then we have after that, the week of Christmas, week of December 20th, we have John Murray, an Emmy-winning TV producer. He has a new TV series called Born for Business that is streaming on Peacock. And so his new TV series, Born for Business, features a few entrepreneurs with disabilities So it's exciting to welcome John back on the podcast, and so you don't want to miss if you enjoyed our series of conversations with John and the cast of the show Born This Way, and you enjoyed our conversation from a few years ago on his show Deaf Out Loud, then you will enjoy this conversation with John all about his new Peacock original series, Born for Business. It's an exciting series, and you're going to love this conversation with John. And then we're going to wrap up 2021 on December 27th with our 2021 our annual year-end retrospective episode, where we look at just a few of our favorite podcast moments from this year, 2021, featuring Tim Shriver's Call to Unite episode, Lou, the chief of sport and competition at United, Paula Conrad from ComEd, Kathleen and Maui Shriver, and Oscar Muniz also, and plus we might throw in a few other episodes from this year. So don't miss on December 27th as we look back on 2021. And then we've got some exciting episodes coming to you in January 2022. We have our USA series will be coming up in, we'll be continuing our road to the 2022 Special Olympics USA Games with our friend Alex from Special Olympics Illinois. He is competing in track and field, so you get to hear Alex's story. And then we have the second week of January 2022 conversation with the CEO of the 2022 Special Olympics USA Games. So you'll get to hear a lot more behind the scenes of our U.S. national games with the CEO of the 2022 USA Games. So do not miss. Remember to do what you do with this podcast. Subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our newsletter. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can get all the links to subscribe and follow to this podcast and follow us on social media on specialchronicles.com. Once again, that's specialchronicles.com. We'll be back next week with another all-new episode. And until then, I will see you next week on specialchronicles.com on this podcast. And until then, remember, choose to include. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Shows podcast. Visit specialchronicles.com to follow Special Chronicles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and don't forget to hit the bell to be notified of new episodes. Also, subscribe to our newsletter mailing list to sign up for our updates and get exclusive content delivered to your inbox. Remember to do what you do with these podcasts. Subscribe or follow and rate and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Finally, please share this episode and all of our podcasts with your friends and family. Help us grow our audience and reach 5,000 downloads of our audio podcasts and over 14,000 average monthly listeners. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week with exciting new guests. See you next week.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.